Okay, they say we good now. Continue.
Yeah, so it's just incredible that
Mm-hmm.
the president or the people around him cannot recognize these kind of things that just are totally disgusting, just unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Where you appoint a foreigner, people try to defend it and saying he was a naturalized Liberian at first. Then he said he was using his father's uh, uh, citizenship
Mm-hmm.
to automatically assume citizenship, which is just like crazy, And they went through the whole charade with our our senators, through the confirmation process. And then they call the entire process off because it just did not make sense. The documents he brought were forged, were all like, how should I say, maybe World Trade Center kind of production. Some of the World Trade Center production way better than what he did. So I don't understand how that kind of individual can still be in government today, Anthony. Can you give any reason why that particular guy should be in government? I mean, just try to find something that can help him.
Isaac, that guy should not be in government right now. If the president want to give us the impression that he did not know all along, the fact that he got to know when this guy was denied by the Senate, why couldn't he use the very reason for which he withdrew the nomination to
So
tell the
I'll keep.
man, hey, please give me your letter of resignation. You can't be at LACC because it has been proven that you're not a Liberian. More so, Isaac, they checked the immigration records, nothing about his citizenship. They checked at the Supreme Court level, nothing about his citizenship. So those were overwhelming reasons for the president to make a very easy decision. But for some reason, the president is still comfortable with this guy today, and that really, beats my imagination. I don't know about you.
I don't think it's comfort. It's either ego because the president has to admit that he was wrong. He has to admit that the people around him, whatever advice they gave, they did not vet this individual, which is some level of incompetence. So I don't see what the explanation is for having this kind of individual to still be existing in government today. I mean, with impunity too, from what I hear and how he operates. And it's not like he's producing anything. The $25 million report, they're sitting down on it.
Mhm.
I mean, have you seen any press conference from LACC about what's in that $25 million report in terms of the map up?
No.
Because no. And what else have we heard from them? What other agency have they audited in recent time to say this guy is so productive, he's better than any other Liberian that could come and hold this position? So I just have no comprehension of how the president is holding on to this kind of individual with total impudence and disrespect to the laws of Liberia. So what I find amazing is that now the Senate is saying, you know, they would do something now. They wrote a letter. I mean,
But
how long did we not
but
say this?
Isaac, before we get to the Senate, I want us to exhaust as much as possible some underlying issue with this guy and the executive, right? So it's not the guy first time getting appointed, right? My knowledge is
No,
that at some point the guy was on an investigative team about some money at the agriculture ministry, I believe. He was on an investigation team about the NOCA thing. All right, it was the president who sent the guy, and then this guy also went to the Good Government Commission, and then LSC. So why? What is it about this guy? What's the kind of special talent he has? He's the only person in government that I've seen who have been appointed multiple times. Why?
the guys like Robert Salif. Robert Salif had what 4 or 5 different jobs in his brother's government. So I don't know the connection.
So you say
Is
he's the Robert Sally of today?
Robert Salif of this CDC led government? That's what it seems like because it's just ridiculous that a person like that would be a piece of conversation consistently after it's very clear,
Mhm.
where he's staying. I mean, it just boggles my mind. I can understand, somebody who's Liberian, who got legitimate citizenship, and who maybe some level of incompetence or maybe something, and the president said, no, you got to prove this. But this guy proved that he is fake, that he's a phony, he's an imposter. He's not Liberian. He proved it himself. So how can he still be in the picture? It's like It's just amazing to me. He must have something. He must know something, maybe that some people are scared that he could expose them. But there is no other reason that somebody, and especially the Senate, because he was in front of them, he lied.
Right.
He lied on the he didn't he put his hand on the Bible
He
and
did. He
swear
did. Hmm.
nothing but the truth. So how can they not take their own action and just picking up? So
Again, I was just about to say, we'll get to the Senate part. Let come to CDC as a party, right? That's your party. Stands for everything that is right. And now
no,
CDC leadership, has known over the time now that this man lied to their president or the president that he was a Liberian. It has been proven. And the party is yet to take a decision.
and that's a big problem. The leadership needs to step up and be clear about these things. That's why um when we talk about an institution, we are not operating as an institution.
Mhm.
Our chairman needs to stand up and exhibit that independence of institution. Even the rest of the people in the coalition. I mean, everybody is just silent on the negative things going on in government and not saying what they should say. That is not right. That is not what we signed up for when some of us joined the CDC. And that's why, we're doing the things we're doing. We're going independent. We are voicing our concerns because this government is embarrassing everybody who has allegiance to the CDC or allegiance to the other two organizations that partner with us to get to this point. So people need to wake up. People cannot continue being, I don't want to say, sycophants because maybe it's a strong word, but just accepting of anything that just comes from the executive down. That's not how government is run. That's not how citizens stand. You have to stand for the right thing. So it's beyond that point now where the obvious wrongs are coming out and people are not saying anything. So you're right. I believe the CDC should take a position on this issue. This man has embarrassed the government. He has embarrassed the president. He has embarrassed those who recommended him. And the fact that we even had to defend him too, he embarrassed the CDC in that respect. So I really, really believe this guy should be handled. Look, the bar association itself. I mean, there's some kind of action if these guys are legal experts that they have to be able to bring against this guy.
Mhm.
Some kind of injunction that this man's a foreigner, he committed, a violation of the oath or at the Senate.
Mhm.
He provided, wrong documentations to them in terms of them validating him as a lawyer, and that process needs to be investigated too. How did the Bar Association get this guy approved? Was his relationship with one or two people, who were lawyers who were up there, maybe TC Bull, like some people have mentioned before? So what is this history with this guy being in the legal sector in that environment and being such a force that it seems that he's untouchable? It makes no sense to me.
Isaac, my understanding is that the guy being a lawyer, he went to school with some of our current lawyers in the country. He's a very good friend to them. And that is what frustrates me. That someone has done something so wrong, and because of friendship with them, at least you can call on the person and say, look, you lie here. What you've done, looking at it legally, is very terrible. The least you can do is to at least resign and save all of us this headache. I want you to speak to that, and I want you to speak to this thing. Sema Serena Cephas, he's friend with this guy. Musa Din, he's friend with that. These are the people in the government who carries so much enormous power to make a decision even without consulting the president, given their role and the violation that this guy has committed. What does that say about them?
No doubt, the justice system is just demonstrating its weakness. No doubt, the justice system should be taking action about this kind of stuff. They are an independent body to a large extent. They don't have to necessarily listen to the president. That's the one ministry or minister that has the ability to be autonomous in some of his actions when it comes to enforcing the law and making sure the rule of law prevails. But he has not done that. So what is it that's holding these guys? Is it just friendship? Is it something more? But they need to take action. Maybe the Senate, again, I keep mentioning them, but the fact is they need to do something. They need to move this process forward.
And then earlier you were talking about the bar. I would think that the bar, with what they know now, at least will write a letter of recommendation to the president that yes, this guy have been in our ranks and file, but now this thing has come to light. We've checked, and he's not what he claimed. He lied to us. So this man with that character, we are recommending that you, Mr. President, at least you fire him, saying he is not inclined enough to tender him his resignation.
Again, sometimes it's paralysis. There's a lot of inaction around these things. Unfortunately, sometimes you're gonna explain why, when something like this is in a public space and nobody wants to comment and say what is right, what the president should do. They're just silent. The president is not always right. I mean, the president got human beings advising. The president himself is human. So they are prone to errors. That's what being human is. But being able to admit that you err and adjust accordingly is what sometimes is very difficult for some people, whether it's ego, whether it's just arrogance, whatever it is. But something has to be done. This guy cannot continue to hold that position. It makes no sense how he has to go. And he has to be prosecuted in Liberia, I believe.
Talking about prosecution, good luck with that, Isaac. You know what been happening. But let's go to the Senate. You wanted to get there. And talking about Senate also, you are an aspirant. If you were in that Senate, with what we know now about this guy, what will we be hearing from Isaac Toba Jr.?
Well, what I just said, it would have been from the get-go anyway. I wouldn't have waited this long. Mm-hmm. Because from the get-go, it was apparent, it was clear. Even the lawmakers who entertained him in terms of that hearing were embarrassed.
Right.
The hearing was called off. And then to save face, which is to me is not saving face, the president withdrew the appointment. That was not adequate. That was not enough. The Senate should have come already at that point and tell the president that's not enough. You need to get rid of this man as a government official. He doesn't have the integrity. He has, violated every part of this whole immigration structure that we have. Mm-hmm. Even the immigration folks themselves should be taking action with this individual. Where are they? They can investigate individually and stuff. So it's like there's a whole blanket of silence in the entire government, even those people who have the individual or mandate individually to deal with this situation. So they have avoided it. But, it makes no sense for Wabudeke to still be, operating anywhere near government. He should be behind some bars or either on bail, but there should be a case with him for violating our immigration law. And it's clear, it's in the immigration law, the alien and naturalization. So
now that the Senate has picked it up, it started with Dillon sending a letter to the leadership and asking for an action by that body. What are some possibility? What are some possible action? Knowing what you know that the Senate might be able to take, and you think with that lead to anything?
It possibly could lead to the Senate whole firm because they have oversight. They have oversight responsibility, and they need to exercise that responsibility. If it calls for them to question the president and take action against the president, then that's what they should do because that's pure violation of our laws for impunity. And the president signed an oath to protect the laws of this country. And in this particular case, that's not what's happening. So the Senate need to be very adamant. They need to really push this investigation. If they want to call it an investigation or explanation of why you guys were nice to tell us or put us here trying to, to pray for him. But no, they need to take action. They cannot just be hesitant or letter or dismiss that letter or whatever. They need to take true, real action, whatever that legal action is. Right. We can reach out to find out exactly what the Senate can do in this case. We can reach out to constitutional lawyers and get the input and ask them exactly what the government can do in this case. But it's something that has to be done. And it cannot just, be something that left on the wayside like a lot of other things have happened before.
All right, let's go to our comment. I want you to respond to somebody following us here. That is Sharif Esiaka. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. This person, right? This guy has committed no wrong at all. His case is just political. What's your thought?
My thought is, I don't know if the individual even followed the case.
Okay.
Because I cannot argue with something that's obvious like this.
Right.
And something is political. What does it mean something is political? That's a word that people tend to hide behind.
Mm-hmm.
We are dealing with a specific issue, false documents, false statements, incorrect dates of birth, no proof of citizenship, and then somebody says political. How can that be political? I don't understand that. So I cannot even, pay mind to that kind of comment or argue against it. It makes no sense.
All right, folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is the program How I See It with Active Vah Tukpah. It's a weekly program here at Focus on Liberia, where now exparent Active Vah Tukpah Jr. Uh, shares with us how he sees things as they happen in our country. So Wambodiki, let's talk about the prosecution. Do you trust that justice system that should we come to the point that now it is clear the guy has done so much wrong and he need to be prosecuted, that he will be able to be prosecuted according to the full extent of the law?
We know our justice system has not stepped up historically. So when you say trust the justice system, no, um, there's no trust in terms of their ability to do what they want to do. What this justice system is known for is nolle prosequi. You understand what that means?
Mm-hmm.
It's generally a formal notice of an abandonment by the prosecution of all or part of a lawsuit. So we have had so many of those instances where our justice system has not stepped up to the plate, where those who are responsible to prosecute find a way out of the case or some kind of weak excuse, like they did recently with this whole 16 billion situation.
Right.
Now they've supposedly filing a new suit, indictment against this.
Charges.
Yeah. What sense does that make? I don't understand with all of those people in that cabal, including Charles Salif, that they would do this and extricate one person and leave the other people. How can they make that case? What is the rationale? What is the excuse? I mean, they really need to be questioned. These people who are making these decisions at the Ministry of Justice, they need to be questioned. Is it the Solicitor General, CFOS? Is it the minister? There got to be some independent body that can get to these people, because these people hold such a critical role, but they're not executing the role that is supposed to be executing. So we can't even understand how they can withdraw the case or say that they're abandoning the case and then they, file a different indictment on what. Are the charges that much different? So similarly, it could probably be the same way Wabure case. We say they don't have enough information to continue prosecuting the case, which would be like,
And
I,
there are other people I've heard in some quarters. The reason why the government is bringing additional charges or another charges against Weeks and the others leaving out charges is because of the popular outcry that how in the world can these guys let all these guys off the hook, and maybe the CDC government realizing that this will have they will have a serious serious question on their running of the justice system. This is why they're trying to save face and they not stay serious. They're just buying time here. Is that
so how is
something?
that taking place? I think that's like smearing more nasty stuff on your face, because it makes no sense with
Mm-hmm.
somebody who was the deputy governor and
Mm-hmm.
was leading the effort at that time to be exonerated from this process, and then
Right.
other people, are held responsible. So there was some continuity from the Ellen Sirleaf government to the We Are government in terms of this money. So they say that other people's hands are in this money. What is it about this money that we can't really get this thing? Hopefully, and it's not like the money is really even on the market from all indications. Supposedly, it's all old those are merely on the market. So where did this $16 billion go? Where? That's the investigation that needs to be found. The Crow report, made some references and they wanted to do more. Even the stuff with Crean. How can they just exonerate Crean simply because they want to print new money? And that was the demand Crean made.
Yeah.
So there's just so much concessions in here that we don't even really know, where government stand, what the real story is and stuff. So do we need somebody from other the country to come and investigate? Can we not police ourselves, regulate our own legal system? Something needs to be done because this kind of stuff cannot go on. It's just the same measure of impunity we have seen over and over again.
All right. I see a comment here that from Hawa Mesga. She writes, "You've been supporting compromise on patriotic individual. Now you change your mind. A.B. Darius DeLon is a public servant for the people. He's solid." Do you care to respond?
I don't deal with opinions. People can
Mhm.
have opinions. They're entitled to that. I can't respond to every side comment that people come with. That's not substantive in terms of the statements you're making towards me in terms of supporting compromise on patriotic individuals. If she can demonstrate how I support a behavior like that, then fine. Let her bring a pose, an image, or something to say that. But in the absence of that, to just say it generally, I can respond to it. There's no argument there to be made.
All right. There is another comment here. It said, "Please ask Mr. October if he ever paid those workers in Riverside yet."
You know,
You put some people to work and you don't pay them, Isaac?
let the president show who I put to work, what the work they did, and how I didn't pay them. So look, all these kind of funny comments gonna come,
Mhm.
and some of them you address, some of them you just ignore because they're just totally irrelevant. Because I have no idea what that person is talking about.
All
None.
right. Isaac, since we are on this Wambodiki nightman, I will call it, and the president, we heard, has been trying to find somebody to occupy that position. The very Sema Serena Seaforth, who is friends with Wambodiki, who some people are saying the one who recommended Wambodiki to the president, is the one the president, we heard, has positioned himself, to a point. This is the same guy who has never won any case. No case. They won with Ellen Crocker, he dropped charges. The 16 billion thing, he lost the case again. Now he fight. Can this guy run the neck? you, you are without words. You have to speak to this.
Is he really being considered?
Well, that's according to Front Page. Front Page is saying that credible source from the executive mansion said that the president is looking at Sema Serena Sifa. If that is the case, maybe this is sensitive for you, saying you have interest in the election, and maybe you try to hold by. You're
No.
afraid that, well, maybe when he becomes the head.
He can do whatever he wants to do, and that would be no reason for anything to hold me hostage. I mean, it's
Okay,
not like I'm doing that because I want to help, not
okay.
because it will make that much of a difference for me. So
Mhm.
we got to get to the point of these things. I just don't think where he came from, agriculture, and then to Solicitor General, and then to NEC. You know, we really don't have other Liberians with the requisite skills and capability and integrity that can do this. I mean, I know Cephas and I've heard a lot of different things about him, but I don't know that he's capable to run that institution, especially how critical and sensitive the National Elections Commission is. I would not, if I were doing the vetting, I won't be considering Mr. Cephas for that position. I really
Right,
won't.
and this CFOS guy, it troubles me as a Liberian because this guy very recently was head of something the president put together called ARIET, right? Assets Recovery, Restitution, and I know investigative team. And Arthur Johnson was it. My understanding is that I don't know was a committee, was an institution, that's supposed to recover some, I mean, amount of about $4 billion, and these guys were asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars to do their work. They came to America here, they chill, and that and whatever it is committee is dead. And this is a guy the president is thinking about to run our elections. I mean, what's your thought?
Investigate the investigators. I
That's
mean, I just cannot understand the
mhm.
claims they made. What they said, $4 billion were available for them to recover or something.
That's what they
You
said.
know, so who are they fooling? What's the paper trail, or what's the genesis of that 4 billion? What would it? I mean, some of the names they listed. They have some people there for what, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. I mean, how did they add up to that 4 billion or whatever amount? It just, you know, credible people sometimes come up with these ideas, and when they share with government, people co-opt the ideas and try to use it to do what they think they can do, but they don't really know how to do it. They don't have the resources or the expertise to do the kind of investigation they're talking about, the kind of audit. So, I mean, this guy, the Johnson guy I heard was pretty good, pretty decent. Did he leave the position? Because
Yes,
I heard he was
he
upset.
did. He did resign. I had the opportunity to read his resignation letter. Yeah, he did resign.
Yeah, I
And
think
in
I
his
was.
resignation letter, hold on, in his resignation letter, I said, you won't believe what the guy said. The guy said the government does not have the political will to fight corruption, and so he had to leave.
I agree. I agree with him. I agree. It's been demonstrated. It's been, I mean, a simple case that right in the president's office with Abudeke, we
Yeah,
can't handle it. We can make an executive decision and fire that man and say, look, you investigate the man. So then what serious case can we do? The 25 million audits should have been out already. That
right.
should be public record. I'm surprised journalists are not applying the Freedom of Information Act to
Yeah,
find out what with that particular report. The whole reversal on what they call the folks name, the Korean people, their involvement in this thing,
right.
the past leaf thing, the 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 guy who died, the investigate. I mean, no investigation goes to its fruition, and we see it completely. All the facts are detailed. They explain in a very clear press conference what the resolution was. We don't see any of that. So how can we have confidence that an investigation will really take place, that's substantive, that goes down to the details and vets everything before they come up with a decision? It's hard to believe that happens.
All right. I said, let me bring something here and see how you see it. Uh, and that is protest. And the reason why I want our viewers here to hear from you, we just
Mhm.
witnessed protest that was organic. We didn't hear organizers saying, okay, let's go negotiate with the city mayor, let's go negotiate with the police, let's go negotiate with the governor, the president as to what day, where, and when. And the protests organically came about and it started extending to cities and then the globe. And your country, Liberia, when we hear about protests, we see negotiation, we see ECOWAS, we see United Nations. What can we learn from these two kinds of protests that we're seeing?
I think, people need to understand that protests
Mhm.
is a democratic right.
Okay.
It's nothing to be afraid of. People have the right to do that, to express themselves, to show that, that they are upset with the government.
Mhm.
That's a right of people. But for some reason, our people tend to fear protests, and that doesn't work well.
Mhm.
It's important that we respect protests. Um, we see, yes, sometimes there can be things that fall out from protests, but you cannot try to suppress, protests that has been a history in our country where people call the leaders of these protests and compromise them, or they may call somebody critical to the protest to withdraw from the protest, or whatever means they do. It's one thing to discuss the issues and find some answers to the problems that the people are protesting for. Like the protests that's in the United States, there will be a sea change, a significant paradigm shift of the engagement with Black people from the police, from the banking authorities, the housing authorities, and all those areas of institutional systemic racism that are hindering people. So when it comes to these kind of things where people were making just so many demands before, they really need to hold their ground on these issues. That's where the leadership come in, that it will not be compromised, that will not easily waver from the position of protest, but be willing to come to some kind of resolution and help with the solution. But we don't really see that in our protests. They come, they dissipate, they die out. They come, they dissipate, they die out. So what do we do?
Mhm.
The people have to continue to protest. And sometimes, like you said, the protests will be, just spontaneous.
Yeah.
They will not wait for leaders. There will be something that will happen that people will just spontaneously get on the street. The thing with Floyd, that kind of killing where people watch somebody dying over an 8 minute period, nearly 9 minute period, that touched people. The same thing with one of the other countries where the guy put himself on fire.
Yeah.
It sparked hope. So sometimes these incidents are just spontaneous that will cause that seismic change in the mindset of people to come and make a difference in terms of the stance they take to be brave and say enough is enough. We don't care what happens to us. We stand until something happens. Something has to break. Something has to change. So that's my opinion on this whole protesting. People have the right to protest,
Mhm.
especially peaceful protests. We understand we have limited resources or whatever, so we can be damaging, whatever it is, because that whatever there is out there, most time is out of government building that people are protesting out of something like that. So you don't want destruction, but you want people to make their point and to stand at ground that some things are not right. And people need to understand civil disobedience too and how it works so how they can be able to do it effectively. Yes, sometimes our police are not trained and they may manhandle people and stuff like that. But if people really believe in a cause, and they want to protest for it, they have to stand their ground.
All right. Let me read a few comments from our folks here, and then you can respond to them. John Bryan. John Bryan writes, You ran for office in Riverside and lost. Now you are running in Monserrato. Where will you run next? Cassie Double writes, the Bar Association should have revoked the law license, and the University of Liberia should have also revoked his degree from UL ever since. Double again, this criminal should have gone to jail right from the Senate hearing. He was supposed to be handcuffed and taken to jail for gross violation of our laws. And
I don't do too much,
let
but
me let me read this one from Nora. Nora Hawks, right? You calling people DeLon supporter? Please be informed that the people of Monserrato County, she said is, but she meant to say, are ready to re-elect DeLon for me. I am not registered to vote in Liberia, just my opinion. Stephen Watson,
but
right?
she
How
said
can
it
you?
right. Anthony, she said it right. But the thing is, we got to stay on topic. We're not focusing on this whole, the Dylan supporters will come, they will make the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Some CDC people will come and make the comments. We can't keep switching our topic just
Okay.
to, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, I
So,
got you.
exactly.
All right.
So, people are free to comment. If it's in the context of what we're doing, we address it. If it's not, we kind of move on.
All right.
Like they talking
Moving
about,
on. Moving on,
uh-huh.
Isaac. Another thing people have been talking about is this data. There's another charge again on data in Liberia. That's this what we heard that the government is in the process of doing, and I think the reason might be the government is doing everything it can to raise revenue. But Liberians are poor. Now, this is not the first time we've seen something like that. 3 days were taken away. I think there was another tariff on the internet and all that. And so people access to internet has significantly reduced in Liberia, and all in the name of trying to raise revenue to carry on needed developments. Is it necessary at this time to put another, tariff on the Liberian people when they are already struggling?
It seems to be the only solution government has, to consistently tax people. And from an economic viewpoint, I don't think that is the solution. Um, we have not really tried to expand the economy. We have not done what we need to do in the agricultural sector. We have not even touched
Mhm.
the tourism sector in terms of just improving access to certain facilities to attract people. We got beautiful places in Liberia
Mhm.
that just minor renovation, minor road development to some of those places, the rainforest, putting some little bungalows or stuff that people who come to do ecotourism, they understand they're dealing with the elements. You don't
Right.
have to do a five-star hotel for them. No, they are outdoors people, but it's about access to the Saco Forest, to the Nima Reserve, to other places that provide these kinds of tourist attractions for people. That's why they want to come to Liberia. And you also have to make it where there's an opportunity for people domestically, to get jobs, to have opportunity. And we are not seeing that. Like, has there been a job creation report from the government since we took over? No. So what are we creating? What is the promise that we made in the PAPD versus what's the reality? Those things need to be. We need to push the government. The government needs to produce. That's what government is about. It's not just about paying salaries. Government has to do more. That's to create a facilitating environment for this private sector. And there are people in the private sector, in the tourism industry, that are willing to put the investment in, but government has to be friendly. There has to be some concessions for these people in how they invest in the business, and some support from government in terms of moving the process forward and making it possible that those investments can have returns on them. In the same way, those returns will lead to taxes. But to just arbitrarily tax without some clear financial justification simply because I think the quote was government needs to protect revenue. I mean, what is that? What does protect revenue mean? So those are the kind of explanations we need to really understand from government when they're trying to impose these new kind of taxes on the people, to really see how they justify what kind of cost benefit analysis did they do on the impact of these particular taxes. What other way could they have done it? What are the alternative analysis they did in terms of who have done taxing on luxury goods, increased tax on luxury goods.
Right.
We have tax on a necessity fuel. Well, we have increased tax on another necessity in terms of people communicating. We don't have landlines in our country. People basically only use cellular to communicate with whoever, and they use data. And those prices were already, they used to have specials. A lot of specials are gone, and people are, ready to the grinding stone. So how much can you keep grinding people, because government has to, get revenue, when government is not trying to do some, implement some policies where they can actually expand how government revenue is generated. I mean, we see the mining industry. There's still money in that industry, but it's very loose, because it seems like people who are involved have some connections that oversight in that sector is not there for us to collect the adequate amount of taxes. We got all these foreigners in our country, including the Chinese, who are just mining arbitrarily with no oversight and no real strong revenue generation from those things. So those are things that our people have to really look at in terms of revamping the system and being able to generate revenue and opportunities for Liberians.
Yeah, Isaac, I'm glad you brought this tourism sector thing in. I know some time ago you talked about it. We have focused on Liberia. Last Sunday had Mr. Ambrose Wiabe, who was trained by the Liberian government. But 40 years ago, he has been working for the Liberian government. He retired now. Of all of the individuals that were trained way back in the early 70s, according to him, he's the only one left. We had him on this show. And guess what he disclosed? That the last time he checked, the tourism sector budget in our national budget was 3,000. So I did not understand him. Fortunately, he and myself come from the same side stand. We speak the same. So I asked him, then I asked him, are you saying those sometime in crew when say 1, 2, 3 is those sometime? He said yes, 3,000.
So
I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore when it comes to finding alternative sources of raising revenue. If this sector is left open, why can't government explode to generate revenue and then putting tariff on, cellular phones that people use to communicate with their poor families? Taking a deep breath, eh?
Yeah.
3,000. That's what the man said.
No, I don't know that. I don't know that it's 3,000. That's not even possible, because I'm looking at the budget right here for 20, 2019-2020 budget.
Well,
See,
I believe him. He been with the ministry for 40 years before his retirement, and that's why he said. And he talking about the Bureau of Tourism,
but
the Bureau of
yes,
Tourism, and that's why he said it might not be this gone budget, but he mentioned that one of the budgetary allotment for that bureau at one point was 3,000. Even if that happened 3 years ago, that was profound.
but he's being specific then. I mean, I don't know that
Yeah,
his
but
numbers are.
let me progress here.
There's
We got some
actually
comments here. We got some people coming after you here. But
133,000.
say again.
I say 133,000.
Okay, so let's say 133,000. Is that enough?
Still very, very low. It's not
Okay,
enough. It's still
okay.
very, very low. So his point is understood.
Mhm.
That's an industry that government needs to increase its focus on because it has huge opportunities,
Mhm.
even from being able to utilize our own law that any black person can be citizen. That's a source of revenue right there in terms of the permits or the citizenship that we could get from black people who want to be a part of our country. So there's some attractive things about Liberia. We're just not utilizing those attractions. Even our history, the historical stuff we got around the place. There are attractive sites where we got a couple of presidents buried in Edina, places like that. A lot of people could be benefiting and coming to see that. The statue of Bob Gray. I never knew there was a statue of Bob Gray, until I saw it down in Edina. So there's a lot of beautiful things and attractive things that people can come and get and be able to enjoy being in Liberia. The skiing thing, all the way in Cape Mount, one of the not skiing, I forgot the word for it. The surfing in Cape Mount, one of the best spots in the world to surf. And they do get some traffic, but with the right promotion and the right incentive, there could be so much more people coming to surf in our country. So, they need to think out of the box. They need to work these things and give some autonomy. I hope the law passes. That's something I would definitely focus on if given the opportunity to help pass that law and make sure that tourism makes a difference for our country in terms of job creation, generation of foreign revenue, and money in Liberian people pockets.
All right. I have a comment here, and Isaiah, I want you to respond to this comment as I read them. They are Liberians. You want to be a leader, and
But again, I said we're not
yeah, but
diverse.
it's a very good point that the person raised. I think that's something you would like to respond to. The person right. This individual have seen all the ills like rape and killings of women and children. When will he speak on it? When he wins. So the person is raising the issue about rape. Mhm.
That person doesn't know me. I
Mhm.
have been one of the major advocates against rape
Okay.
in this country. They can tell them to go on my page and just Google rape, and they will see all the different postings I have done about rape. I've been one of the major advocates for women issues, and I will consistently be, because those issues are atrocious. The effect it has on these little children, the recent, rape, the rape by that lawmaker, the rape by the guy on the bypass there the other day, or his Zipway. I mean, those things are not things that we stand for. No, we speak against those. Even I saw another comment about war crimes code. I want to be one of the biggest war crime code advocates. Before it was even fancy to be for war crime codes, we're supporting a war crimes code. We really believe that. And I'm surprised the CDC government is not even pushing that. So those are some of the things we say. What we stood for is different from what's happening today. So that's why we're taking the position we're taking. We're not, we're supposed to be citizens first. We're Liberians first,
Right.
before we were anything, connected to the party. So, it's not an issue for us to take issue with what's going wrong. We'll do that.
All right. And this one reads, Isaac, you might be a good man, but your party associate or the party you associated with is your stigma. Already you never deliver, then your party association make it worse.
That's an opinion again. I can't control that. I cannot control people who think that way. The people who I can convince about what my principles are, what my history of advocacy has been, and the issues I'm concerned with, and what I can make a difference with, those are the ones I will focus on. Some people, regardless of what I say to them, they will not be convinced. But what I want people to know, there are 770,000 voters in Montserrat County, and we work our hardest to reach to those. A lot of voters are apathetic because they don't believe the people who are in position can deliver for them, can make a difference in their lives. Okay. But we show our people that we can make a difference if given the opportunity to do so. But this is not about campaigning or trying to refute the statements made by supporters of, Dylan, or supporters of anybody else who may be running. At this time, we're trying to see how we can address issues, how we
Mm-hmm.
can try to enlighten people and educate them on some of these things. So those comments will come, but there'll be, ample time for us to deal with those, statements, emotional reactions, outbursts, or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
from these different kind of supporters. But we need to be focused in terms of how we deliver this show, the issues we address, and we try to stay on topic. It's not wrong sometimes to divert, to one or two of these things and be able to deal with them. But when you know somebody is trying to troll specifically all over the place, like how I met or the neural hook, I mean, you can't really address those things, man. You gotta be able to move on. It's good for each person to have their opinion, and that's fine. That's what democracy is all about. But there's not a necessity
Well,
for us
I
to
say
have to.
democracy is about trying to convince people because you alone can't preach your message. You need the people to help you carry your message. So when they have
Anthony,
concerns, address them.
Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
you at the same time you have to know where your losses are and how to cut them.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot stand here and talk to a rock 24/7 until that rock will move. No, that rock is not moving. Try to go find sand or some gravel or some soil and work your magic with it. You can't convince everybody. No, that's not the business where that's not what politics is. There will be some people who will be impossible sell. I don't care what you say or what you do, their convictions are set. There are other people who are middle of the road that can balance what you're saying against the reality, get two check boxes and say these are the 10 qualities I want to see in a lawmaker. These are the other factors I want to assess. Yeah, the 5 candidates, 6 candidates, 2 candidates, whatever, and do their own check and see how they assess those and grade them. Other people, it's just about popularity. Other people, it's just about need. So you sell to those who you think you can sell to, but you don't keep butting your head. No, you got to make an effort. But sometimes the disposition just shows you where people are. So sometimes you can't just kill your time because time is limited. We have up to, December 1st to be able to get this thing right. So
All right, getting back on message. Hey, folks, if you want to call in, the phone line is right there at the bottom of the screen in the blue area scrolling. That is 605-313-6004 and enter the code
the Horace, I'm
791-403
running
pound.
the phone.
Or you can call in and maybe you have a question for Isaac. If you want to engage in a little bit, Isaac is not he's not afraid to talk the issues, and that's why he's here talking to you. We are going to an hour now, and this program is always about an hour. Uh, of all the issues, going in your closet, your political closets, I've been talking not closet, but your platform. Let's pick one, and then share with us what will you do. How many pillows you have, first of all, and then take one and share with our audience. Let them know what you stand for and what you want to accomplish when you are elected senator.
So let me just break it down like this.
Okay.
At the very top,
Mhm.
I believe integration and transformation are critical for Liberia, right?
Okay. Okay.
By integration, I mean we have significant assets in terms of capacity, in terms of investment dollars, in terms of revenue in the diaspora all
Mhm.
around the world in terms of Liberian capacity. On the ground, we have significant amount of resources that were that are untapped.
Mhm.
How do we integrate at that level, whether it's on an entrepreneur basis, on an investment basis, it's on a mentorship basis, it's on a business support level or whatever. Those are things that when we can bring them together and integrate, as well as the vertical integration right on the ground among our different, ethnic groups, some of the tribes, okay? How we can live better, how we can work together. That is so significant in moving the country forward. So that one of my major things in terms of integration and then transformation, the different mindsets we have, some of the things that hold people back from really exploring their full potential, transforming those things into tangible and possible things that people can see. Some people can be able to engage, other people can say, oh, the life this person has lived is something I can emulate, something I can be like, people mentoring people to bring them along. We all are not on the same level. There are different people who have advanced in their lives. There are people who have huge potential, don't have the opening. That's why today I was engaged with this youth, and he was talking about trying to bring out the capabilities of young people in the areas they can, whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's academics and stuff like that, trying to identify talented young people. And that's something I would love to work with that kind of youth, in terms of identifying these youth who can do these positive things and try to create and find opportunities for them. Okay, so that's the integration and transformation that we need to flow down into everything.
So
Then at the very
let me give me more specific on that. I like what you just said. Let's take one for example. The music. I know music is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Liberia is lacking behind. The young talents are there. So when you're talking about tapping into their talents, how
right.
do you do it specifically?
So, for example, we know
Mhm,
there are some Liberians in the US, in
mhm,
Europe, in the music business
mhm,
who have, studios and talent stuff. Those people can reach to and say, look, give us an opportunity, invest in Liberia, invest
mhm.
in the artists here,
Right,
um, try and refine the stuff. And sometimes you don't even necessarily have to be physically in Liberia.
right.
Somebody can do a music and it can come over there and somebody can add the beats to it or they can improve it. So there's different way of collaboration or listen to these kids, see which one of these kids can mix with some of the people that you're doing stuff for where, because Afro, Black, African is coming to be it. That's what
Right.
we're moving to right now,
Mhm.
and how can Liberia take a place in that movement towards the empowerment of Africans? How can we stand up? That's the kind of thing we're talking about. How can we have a more pan-African outlook to what's happening on the continent, whether it's from our youth in music, whether it's from the film industry, whether it's from the fact that we can provide services because of the way we speak. Most Liberians, if they just train in a short time, yeah, colloquial is the majority that people speak, right? The majority language per se.
Mhm,
But you can refine a lot of Liberians more easily than you can go refine somebody in Nigeria in terms of how they speak. So
mhm,
being able to be like a customer service, get into that sector,
mhm.
but it all takes collaboration. It all takes us working together in an integrated fashion. So we have the talent, like I said, but it's about exposing that talent and giving that talent the opportunity to grow, the environment to grow, to get some practical training, to be able to, do the best that you can.
And finally, Isaac, I'm glad you brought this point, on about typical African American. That's my way of talking about our brothers, who forefathers came here many, many years ago, born here and all that. So I see because of what been happening in America, we see that happening in Ghana. I've watched video of some of them going to Sierra Leone. And when we're talking about, African American, they should be thinking Liberia, not be thinking Ghana. Anyone will argue that they should share more with Liberia than any of the other African countries.
No
So,
question,
what
no
would be what legislation that if you are elected senator, you will push and that will provide incentives for the black entrepreneur that are here, that are feeling comfortable going to Africa to go to Liberia.
there's so many concessions you can give these people, right?
Okay.
So, for example,
Mhm.
from just a cultural perspective,
Right.
opening ourselves to them where, okay, so that's the transformation comes first now.
Right.
We have to get in the mindset of our people that we are a tourism country.
Mhm.
We already have been labeled as the most friendly people. We know that Liberians generally are friendly people, but more time they're friendly to foreigners than each other. So
Mhm.
let's start to love each other a little better.
Right.
Then we embrace those foreigners that come in where we know who we are.
Yeah.
We understand our history better. That's why I'm proud of a man like Patrick Burrows. He's
Mhm.
bringing Liberians' history to Liberians. He going back from, I'm going doing a class with him, Liberia before 1350. So some people think maybe Liberia started in 1822. No, Liberia did not start in 1822. Liberia started way back and people came here and then people came here and people came here. So once we start to understand our history a little better and be proud of the history we have, right? Get
Mhm.
our actual history, then we can identify ourselves. We can start building a new nationalism. Our love for country can expand and then we can be able to handle something like tourism. So that training, that mental transformation has to take place. So when people get that understanding and we invite these foreigners, especially our fellow diaspora Africans that are out there, Black Americans, whatever, some people in Europe, all those things, we can offer them citizenship. There can be some concession. Liberia, we are not densely populated. We got significant land space. And I have this theory in my head that if we can have like 15 to 20 highly educated people who understand government and all of that, moving each of the different counties, we have a better ability to decentralize, and those people can make, you see why I say protest work? Because if those people are in their communities and government is just taking all the revenue in Monrovia and nothing is coming back to those counties to help with development or help facilitate business or other opportunities,
Right.
they can make demands of government, you know? So it's about us building that culture that we are embracing tourism, that we have these spiritual things. Because for some people, coming to Providence Island could be a spiritual experience that we can sell. You
Right.
know, they would love that thing, right? So, and we talk about our history, how the free slaves came here. We can liken that this is an opportunity for you to escape this institutional racism in the US and come to Liberia and be a part of our culture, be free. Or even if you won't come every 6 months, you know, don't spend winter in the US. So there's so many different ways we can advertise the benefits we have to these different folks. We can even extend it to how should I say uh e-citizenship. You know, it was something we offered before where people don't have to come to Liberia. They can become citizens of Liberia abroad wherever they are and just be able to say, yes, I'm a Liberian. So we have that. Every person of Negro descent can be a citizen of Liberia. So we got to be able to expand that particular law. There's so much around it that we can expand. So the first thing is to get the Tourism Act signed. Let the Liberia Tourism Authority be a unique, independent, autonomous agency, not under the Ministry of Cultural Affairs and Tourism, not under MACAP. They need to be removed. There's a bill already on the table, but that bill needs to be fully passed by the Senate, and it will be something I would definitely advocate for. And then we factor in the opportunities in terms of how is government supporting this sector? What is the, again, cost benefit analysis? That's something you hear anytime I talk about a bill. There can be qualitative benefits and there can be quantitative benefits. And you have to measure that to make sure that on the positive, you're on the positive side, where those negatives are less than, you know, where your positives are, and it's worth passing that bill and it will be beneficial to Liberian people. So those are the kind of things that we have to look at to be able to make our country successful, not just one area.
All right. I,
Past time. We gotta keep
I
going.
don't want us to stop, but time is out, folks in cyberspace. Thank you for joining Isaac here on his program, HOW-I-C-8 with Isaac Vah Tukpah Jr. Next Thursday we'll be here again, same time. If I disappointed you by not pushing Isaac enough, maybe because I overslept, so I'm still trying to wake up. Come, I guarantee you he will be in trouble with me next Thursday. Folks, thank you. Those of you who commented, and we appreciate your tough comments. Asa is running to be senator, and he's here. That's why he came up with the idea that he wants to come here every week so that people can ask him questions and for him to share his thoughts on the things that are happening and how we can make them better. So criticize him all the time, and he needs that. Even if he doesn't like that, he needs that. You know.
Who? You gotta embrace criticism. That's the only way you get better. The people
Right.
who don't embrace, I'm just saying sometimes you don't waste time because you have to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know your own capabilities. You have to know sometimes where your weaknesses are. That
Mm-hmm.
when people come with some of those things, you can address them. You don't have to respond to everything.
Right.
If somebody come in right now and say, "My man, you orange," am I supposed to defend something like that, Anthony? That I'm orange? Do I look like Donald Trump to be orange? No, I'm not. So you can't respond to every negative thing out there. Somebody can accuse you and say you don't pay people in River says. What did I hire somebody for to do for me in River says? You know that I didn't pay them.
All right.
So I don't fall for that.
All right. There's a good comment here from Mr. George Lobo. He said VAR knows the real issues, great articulation, uh, and, you know, and he wants to see more. And so I hope next week
And
you can come
that's
with
the
more.
kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that we want for people to want more, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The how. What else do you have?
Mm-hmm.
What different? Yes, that's fine. That's what we need. So that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
And we will continue to roll out things. We can't overload people. We can't overload people. We're doing some things and we share some things. It's a gradual process.
So the last
But
time I joined you here, I don't mean to interrupt you. Daros Dillon is the light. Oh, time. Daros Dillon is the light. And you jokingly said that, oh, that light now, they say that Chinese light. Do you believe that light is a Chinese light?
my man, go ask our chair that Darius is like. He will tell you.
All
Go
right.
yeah, what our chair.
All right, folks, we'll do this next time. Thank you. I don't know why some of you could not call. The line was open all along, but hey, many of you commented, and I appreciate all your comments. The comments are many that we can't read them all, but we read them out loud, or I read them during the show throughout. And so thank you for always sharing your comments. Isaac too is reading the comments at his end, and usually after the show, he reads your comment just so that he can be able to respond to those ones he's not able to respond to today. I say your final thoughts. Time has gotten hold of us now.
Yeah. Want to look straight at the president and tell him, fire Wabudeke, tell him for investigation. That man is dragging our country's name in the mud.
Mhm.
There's no necessity for that. Um, we need Wabudeke fired. We need him investigated by our law, by our immigration folks, and by the police. And for all of those, like the Bar Association and others who have the authority, or even the Ministry of Justice, take some action. Don't be, how should I say, paralyzed by the situation or fear of reprisal. Do what you're supposed to do within the mandate of your position, and that will distinguish you from what else is happening out there. So I want to say thank you, Anthony, for being a wonderful part of this show. You are a very critical part, and we have moved it to this time. Hopefully, we'll be able to. Okay, how I will get with you so we can discuss the rape thing. Okay. Have you read the current rape law? The fact is, our children are not protected, are not adequately protected. We have a society where people just impose on children, and children are treated like, disposable items. They're not really cared for. They are not protected like they should be. And you're right, the law should protect these children and action should be taken. Sometimes there's no urgency when there's a rape case, there's an abuse case and stuff like that. There's no urgency to how these people approach, resolving a case.
Mm.
And again, I believe with the preponderance of rape in our society,
Right.
there should be better forensic, tools, analysis and stuff that can really determine quickly who these people are violating. But we have not seen that desire to improve the investigation environment and make it easier to protect these children. Sometimes the same rape situation, they put the children back into it. And then we have some of these mothers who are defensive. Look at that case with the woman husband. She denying her daughter, send a little girl to her grandma. The little girl, have the baby. That little baby having babies. And, seriously, it happens a lot all around in Liberia. I mean, Rivers is another place where plenty of these young girls are having babies. And then wherever it is in these particular locations that people's tongues are tied, that even the people within the community, or sometimes the people whose own children are being abused, don't say anything. We got to find out what are these things that are restricting people. At 13, 14, I don't believe these kids are women, that it should be, be having sex with grown people, or grown people imposing themselves on them. So there's statutory rape and there's this physical rape. Sometimes it's violent. So we really do need to pay attention to it. How I'm right there with you. I have been paying, I have been talking, I work with so many different feminists. It's just, not the right thing. So something has to be done. I don't know how loud my voice can be, but we'll keep talking.
All
Okay.
right, we'll leave it there. How join us next Thursday. Everybody else join us next Thursday. Continue to ask questions, continue to demand more from Isaac. And I think when you demand, he is obliged to
I
give you.
agree. I agree. No, Lobo makes a point. The
Yeah,
law on most of our laws are good laws on the books.
right.
Application and implementation are the most difficult things because most of the people who should apply the law,
Mhm.
they are handicapped, either because they are compromised by bribe or their inability to actually, do it, or is that my cousin's son or my friend or something, that friendship, nepotism,
Right,
cronyism
right.
get in the way of exercising the due diligence of the law. So we gotta find some kind of way that people have to pay for these violations of our law. With the rule of law just does not prevail, and people get away with stuff. I mean, look at the accident with that, deputy minister of justice
Yeah.
with that lady and her three daughters. What's the end of that case right now? Has it died?
I think it has.
Okay. So thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. To all those who listen. Yes, I think the mother was arrested, Nestor. So to all those who listen, I want to say thank you. We'll see you again next week, and we'll try to keep it to the 1 hour mark. We know that people do want more, and our people are hungry, and we'll try to provide as much intellectual and practical food that we can for us to be able to build our nation. This is about development, both physical and mental. So we keep pushing until we can get the results, the desired results to make Liberia a better Liberia for all Liberians. So thank you.
All right. On that note, folks in cyberspace, this is how we will come to the end of the program. How I see it with Isaac Vah Tukpah Jr. I am Anthony C.A. and I have been facilitating here with Isaac Vah Tukpah. Thank you for watching our program. Yeah, I focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. See you same time, same place next Thursday. On that note, we want to remind you, don't get carried away. Coronavirus stay around. Protect your loved ones and yourself so that we can all be able to see that Liberia that we want. And remember, we are leaving you with this song that says we are all Liberians and Liberia is our home. Bye bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.